ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to Thursday Night Football overtime. Jags, Saints, really good football game. A game broke out in about the fourth quarter as this thing looked like it was going to be lopsided. Saints continue to struggle in the red zone, and it looked like it was going to cost them yet another game. And all of a sudden, they woke up. They started making plays, and I really do think, and I think Kirk Herbstreit pointed this out during the telecast, that their offense really got jump-started when they kind of went to that no-huddle, kind of hurry up, went with some tempo and pace, and Jacksonville wasn't able to kind of get set into what they wanted to, do, and they started to be able to get into an offensive rhythm, and this thing turned around quickly. Alvin Kamara started to get busy. Carr started to get the ball out of his hands quicker. And your end result was all of a sudden a 24-9 game became 24-16 and then 24-24 after Jacksonville decides to go for it on a 4th down and inches. I hated the actual call. Loved the decision. I have no qualms about them going for it. Don't get me started on gun runs in 4th and 1 or less. That was literally 6 inches they needed. And if Trevor Lawrence being banged up is your excuse for not getting under center and quarterback sneaking or just getting under center in general, get him out of the game on that particular snap then. Or put a tight end under there, someone who's comfortable handling the snap and leaning forward for a 1st down. That's bullshit. And it almost cost you a football game, deciding to go from the gun and hand it off to your 210-pound running back as if he's going like, where's Bixby in that situation? He's more of a battering ram. He's more of your physical downhill back. Where is he on that particular snap? I thought that whole operation, that whole decision, and then the handoff wasn't even good. It barely got in there. I really don't know what Jacksonville was thinking there. That could have cost them because the Saints boat raced them right down the field after that, failed 4th down conversion, scored in 40-something seconds, 50-something seconds, and got the 2-point conversion easily. And this game's tied at 24. And a game that you were dominating, that you looked like you were going to win comfortably, you're not fighting for your life. Crowd is involved, and the Superdome can be a really tough place to play when that crowd gets involved, and all of a sudden they're juiced up. And now the momentum is totally shifted. Uncle Mo got up, walked across the field, and he's asking for a beverage. He's looking to put his feet up. And just as quick as he got over there to sit down, he got right back up and walked back across the field because the Saints promptly went 3 and out, gave it right back to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And after the Jaguars, of course, went 3 and out themselves, or they didn't go 3 and out. They moved it right to around midfield. Great run on I think it was a 3rd down by Trevor Lawrence. Maybe it was a 2nd. His legs were huge tonight. Let's start with Jacksonville. Let's go ahead and talk about the Jaguars. First of all, let me say this. That's a gutsy performance by Trevor Lawrence. You want to win your teammates over as if he hasn't already done that. But if you really want to instill confidence in them, if you really want to show them that you're putting it all out there on the line, that's how you do it. You know that it's going to be tough. Thursdays suck for everyone. You're banged up. It makes it even worse for you because you banged up your knee at the end of a win that was already in the bag. You have never worn a knee brace in your career. And this goes all the way back to high school, college, NFL, nothing. You've never worn a knee brace. It's uncomfortable. And you go out there, and not only do you play and play well, you also lead the team in rushing. You got 10 days off now, and you can heal that knee properly now. But that's a hell of a way to respond if you're Trevor Lawrence. to get your team to 5-2. They don't win this game without him. They don't win this game without his legs, without his leadership. And he was really accurate tonight as well. So hats off to Trevor Lawrence. That's a hell of a performance. This Jacksonville Jaguars team, I talked about them on the podcast on Tuesday. They're somewhat of an enigma. You don't know what Jags team is going to show up. And in this game, I thought it was a microcosm of what they've been all season. They turned it over. They were sloppy early, even though they got out to a lead. They gave up a drive. The Saints field goal kicker, Blake Groupie, missed, and we're going to talk about him when we get to New Orleans. But then you get 2 turnovers, not 1, 2 turnovers, right? Great job by Paulson Adebo to wait for Christian Kirk to get up, to poke the ball free. A lot of guys try to do that, never actually execute it. He didn't even punch, really. He just put his hand where the ball was, and it was a really good play by Paulson Adebo to get it out and then hold on to Christian Kirk so he couldn't get on top of the fumble. And the Saints don't do anything with that. Then you get a muff punt, essentially, with the Jaguars blocker running into his return man and the ball hitting the blocker and caroming and the Saints recovering, and you only get 3 out of that too. These are the types of situations that lose you ball games. And if you're Jacksonville, for you to overcome that, only give up 3 points in 2 sudden change of possession situations early in the ball game, I may add. Both of those turnovers happened in the first quarter. To overcome that and ultimately build a 14-6 and then later on a 21-6 lead, that's big time stuff. It's big time stuff on the road in a tough environment. That's big time. Travis Etienne continues to be a problem. And you know, the yardage may not necessarily always show it, but he's finding the end zone. I'll guess right now, and I can't confirm nor deny this because I know McCaffrey's been really busy, but I know the Dolphins running backs have been crazy this year. So I won't make the declaration that I was about to make. I'll just say I would go on record as to say Travis Etienne is top 5 in the league in rush touchdowns this season. Seems like the guy's making trips to the end zone once or twice a game. Usually it seems like twice a game. I think he had 1 rushing touchdown tonight, maybe 2. But it seems like he's making trips consistently to the end zone. Another solid night for him. You look at Christian Kirk, that catch and run. I remember that route. He ran that last year, week 1, against Jamin Davis and got wide open on like a 2nd and 24. And I remember being pissed off. Why is Jamin one-on-one with this guy in the slot with no help? And, you know, Tyrann Mathieu, he never had a step to give in the first place, let alone, you know, being 32, 33, 34, however old he is, years old. You can't run like that. You can't leave him one-on-one with a guy like Christian Kirk. That's not a good idea. And so they had to pay for that. Great catch and run after this thing got tied up at 24. Great response by Jacksonville. I really am questioning what the hell New Orleans has going on special teams wise right now. You don't see rugby style kickers in the NFL. That's some college shit where you get the guy that runs 3 yards to his right and then kicks it on a line drive. Like, that's some college shit. That kickoff, that punt that he had tied at 24, that cost them the game. Like, what are you doing? You know, first of all, you didn't kick it that far. That's number 1. 2, you kicked it on a damn line. So Agnew got smart. Now, I was looking to see if he was going to make the adjustment. The first kickoff, or the first punt rather, they had him pinned deep in their own territory. Agnew was backed up, and he couldn't run up and catch it in time. It hit, and then it trickled. And it flipped the field. It went from him punting the ball literally at his own goal line to it being downed at the 25. It was like a touchback almost. So Agnew got smart. on the next punt, he came all the way up, ran and caught it on a dead sprint. And the Jags are in business in a tie ball game, 24-24 with 3 minutes left at the Saints 45-yard line. What kind of a punt is that? Anyway, great job by Jamal Agnew to, realize what had happened the last time, adjust, make the catch on the dead sprint, and save the Jaguars tremendous field position. And then a couple plays later, you got the Christian Kirk catch and run touchdown, and they've taken the lead. But credit New Orleans offense for moving it back down the field and having a shot. Foye Oluokun was a guy that I wanted like 3 years ago in free agency when he left Atlanta, and I was like, man, this guy's really good. I'd love to add him. Clearly, my team's not interested in adding game-changing linebackers. He's all over the field. That's generally, and you could also see that the Utah linebacker is starting to really get comfortable in Lloyd. And they got some young boys. They stay with some young boys. I've always said about Jacksonville, they really draft well. They're one of those teams that understands the draft really well. And, Devin Lloyd is starting to step up. Oluokun is a guy that I always loved, and he had an interception, pick 6 tonight. How about Buster Brown stepping in and holding it down on the outside? No Tyson Campbell, no problem. I thought Buster Brown played his ass off. He was no buster out there at the cornerback position. That's for damn sure. They tried to pick on him. Even the throw to Michael Thomas for the touchdown, that had to be a perfect ball. He was in great position. Great play on the final snap offensively for the Saints there to preserve the victory. I thought they wore down on defense. I thought, again, great job by the Saints of going tempo. That entire fourth quarter, they really put a lot of pressure on Jacksonville's defense going tempo, and I thought they tired them out. And I thought it showed the results were what they were on those final, 4 possessions or so, scoring on 3 out of the final 4 possessions, or maybe it was 3 out of the final 5. Because I don't think they scored on the final 2 possessions of the game, did New Orleans, but when they had a golden opportunity. Anyway, big win for the Jags, man. The job Doug Peterson is doing for the Jags right now is so underrated. I know it's a bad division, and they should win it, but they've had some tough games to start the season off, and they've played a ton of division games. I will admit that they've had Houston, they've played Indy twice. I don't think they've played Tennessee yet, but mixed in there though. Buffalo, this Saints team, Kansas City, right? They've had some tough games too, right? And they were right there with Kansas City, had a shot. They went over in London against Buffalo. They beat Atlanta, who's not a bad football team. You got to give this Jaguars team some credit, man. They found ways to win games when it hasn't always been pretty, but it's been gritty, and most importantly, a dubski. They go on the road, hostile environment, quick turnaround with a banged-up quarterback who guts it out, and they find a way to win. You'd love to not make this as hard on yourself as you did. After having a 15-point lead, you'd love to win this game going away, or at least win it comfortably enough to where you don't have to sweat it out and get help from the Saints on a drop ball in the back of the end zone, because I would have loved to have seen what Dennis Allen would have done had they scored the touchdown. Would he have gone for 2? Their place kicker has been shaky all night. He almost missed the extra point to cut it to 8, right? And he missed a field goal already. He missed a field goal. I wanted to smack his ass last week because I had the Saints over the Texans, and he missed a chip shot field goal last week that would have given them a shot. So I was pissed off at this damn Blake Groupie kid already as is. Then he misses a field goal earlier, which I wasn't complaining because I had Jacksonville. But I don't know. If I'm DA, I'm probably going for 2 on his ass. You stay over here with your garbage ass. You stay over here. Let me go for 2 in the win. But we didn't get to figure it out because Foster Moreau didn't catch the football, which we'll talk about here in a second. But nonetheless, big win for the Jags. They're 5-2. Quietly, no one's really talking Jags, right? Quietly, they're 5-2. Okay? Quietly, they are 5-2. And I think this is the point of the season where they start to try to assert themselves and maybe create a little bit of distance in that AFC South division, because, Indianapolis has been a surprise to start the season off, but they're about to run out of juice here. Houston's been a very pleasant surprise. We'll see what happens with them, but this is an opportunity I think they need to start taking to maybe distance themselves from the rest of this division. A big win on the road for the Jags. And I love Jamal Agnew. I think they have to find more ways to get him involved in the offense. He's a playmaker. Glad that he got up. He was a little banged up on the punt. I think he probably just got shaken up. When you get run into by your teammate and you're not expecting it, you're looking for the ball and you get mollywopped, probably just, knock the wind out of him or something like that. But glad to see he was okay. Let's get to New Orleans side of things. And if you're a Saints fan, this is becoming an all too familiar story this season. The inability to punch it in the red zone. You struggled on third downs tonight. What did the Saints end up on third downs tonight? At one point, they were 1 of 9. I do know that. And they were 4 of 6 on fourth downs, right? So they made up for it on fourth down, but the only reason you had to go for it so many times is because you couldn't convert on third down first. So 3 of 18 on third downs. Are you kidding me? 3 of 18. I don't know if I've seen a team be that bad on third downs with that many attempts. That's a lot of attempts to only get 3 of them. And let me see the turnover number real quick. Because generally, I don't think the Saints turned it over tonight. And generally, yes, they did. Carr threw a pick 6. That was a costly one too. Whew. Jags had 2, they had 1. If I'm a Saints fan, I'm highly upset. To me, the New Orleans Saints have been one of the most disappointing teams in the 2023 season to this point. And while their record is 3-4 and the sky's not falling, they have no business being under 500 right now. They had no business losing to Green Bay. They have you shouldn't go to Houston and lose. And I know the Texans are playing much better ball than anybody anticipated. You have no business going to Houston and losing. And this was a game that easily you could have lost and probably deserved to lose. However, you had every opportunity to win this game too. And I just feel like this season, this team has had what I feel like a ton of empty calories, I call them, which is passing yards that don't really mean a damn thing. Derek Carr seems like he's going over 300 yards every week, yet you're scoring 15, 16, 13, 12 points. And I don't really understand why this team can't get on track offensively. Now, he crept over 300 yards tonight, and these were not empty calories, okay? There was nutritional value behind the 300 yards that he threw for tonight. It just wasn't enough. And again, he did everything he could do, especially late with Foster Moreau dropping that pass. And I'm sick for Foster Moreau. You saw the emotion on the sidelines. That's a tough spot to be in when you feel like you let your team down. And I'm a Foster Moreau fan. When he came out of LSU, I wanted my team to take him in the draft. And he ended up going to Vegas, and now he's in New Orleans. He had the cancer diagnosis, if you recall. And now, he's cancer-free. So it's good to see him back on the field, but that's a tough one. That's a tough break to not come up with that one back of the end zone. Chance to put your team in a position to either tie the game or win it with a 2-point conversion. I'm sick for him. But that said, you put yourself in a position where it came down to that. If you're New Orleans, you had opportunities at the beginning of this game. You miss a field goal on the opening possession. You force a turnover, got great field position. You do nothing with it. You get another turnover, this time deep in Jacksonville territory. You're probably at the plus 26-yard line or so, and you only get 3 out of that. You had opportunities early in this game to really assert yourself and really apply some game pressure on Jacksonville, and you were unable to do that. And I thought it was that, little period there where they squandered opportunities that allowed Jacksonville to have the confidence to then run out and take a 14-3, and then later a 21-6 lead, and then later a 24-9 lead. It was those mistakes and missed opportunities, and that's been the theme of this Saints team all season long. Starting in week 1, when you beat the Tennessee Titans 16-15, missed opportunities, not enough points being scored. Same thing happened against Tampa. Can't score the football. You only put up 9 points in that game. Same thing happened in Green Bay. You come out fast. You're up 17-0. Carr gets injured. You don't score another point rest of the game. You blow the 17-point lead, lose 18-17 to Green Bay. This has been the story of your season. Houston, you get in the red zone 87 times, come away with no points. It seems like they talked about the end of the game for the last 4 possessions and where they ended against Houston. It was a joke. I watched that game thinking they're going to find a way to beat Houston. And they couldn't put the ball in the end zone. And I've talked about on the podcast, I talked about the red zone struggles of teams this year. The Saints fall into that category as well. They have not been great in the red zone. And it bit them again tonight. They had opportunities, none bigger than the one at the end. I got to give them credit, though. At 24-9, this game seemed like it was over, and you heard Al Michaels talk about, giving them credit for that. I thought they were dead in the water. Carr was flustered back there. He was not comfortable. They weren't in sync. Every pass attempt seemed like he was fussing at somebody for, running the wrong route, or they weren't in sync. There's a deep ball he throws on a 3rd and 3 to Olave right when the game's tied at 24. Olave kind of slows up. Carr chucks it deep. Carr's like, what are you doing, right? And so it just seemed like he wasn't in sync. There's a pass to Olave in the red zone. Olave's running a curl, and Carr's throwing it like he's running sort of a little in, almost like a little dig, and he zings it right past him. You could tell they were just a bit out of sync, and that's been kind of what this feels like this offense has been this season, outside of like Rashid Shaheed, who's just been spectacular for the Saints this season, and he almost made a crazy, one-hand grab in the back of the end zone. But it was good to see Michael Thomas get involved, catch the touchdown, his first touchdown of the season. He's been really quiet this season. It was also good to see Taysom Hill. I don't think they used Taysom enough. And they used him really, really effectively as a tight end today. Normally, he's more of a runner. When Sean Payton was there, Taysom was getting a heavy dose and steady diet of carries, especially in those short yardage situations. I thought it took them entirely too long. It took them until 4th down to put Taysom Hill in the game to run it. Like, what are we waiting on? Like, that should have been 3rd down. Like, don't wait till 4th down to give it to Taysom. I think he should be more involved, especially with the issues that they're having scoring. It never hurts to have Taysom Hill involved more so in the game plan. I know you want Derek Carr to touch it. Taysom Hill is a weapon. He's a special weapon. Not many teams in the league have a guy like that, and not many teams can defend what Taysom Hill is able to do. And I think you can even mix in a couple of trick plays where it looks like he's about to take off and run, and then he decides to throw it. But, save that for another day. But good to see him getting back involved. The thing I've been most disappointed in with the Saints, though, this season has been the defense. I thought this was going to be a dominant unit, and they've played well. I just thought they would have played better, and they haven't gotten a ton of help from their offense in their defense. But games like tonight, even the Houston game where they allowed C.J. Stroud to move it a little bit and get into the end zone, the Buccaneers game, the dam finally broke at the end. They gave up the touchdown. I've been disappointed, giving up 18 points. I don't care who's at quarterback, with Jameis Winston playing. I don't care who's, Derek Carr didn't finish. Don't give up 18 points in the 4th quarter. Like, don't do that. They've been really disappointing this season, have the Saints. And while I mean, we can point at the offense too. They've been disappointing as well because they haven't really scored the points that you would expect them to be able to score. Like, I think this is a talented group. I think the Saints have talent. Tonight was I'm hoping the beginning of them finally getting into some sort of offensive rhythm, because I've given up on New Orleans. I told you guys on the podcast, I said, if Trevor Lawrence plays, I'm not fooling with them, because I'm over the Saints this season. And they're only 3-4, but the schedule that they've played, they have no business being 3-4. They, at worst, 5-2, probably 6-1 right now. Let's see who they played this season. You started out the season with Tennessee. You won that game in a nail biter. You beat Carolina on a Thursday night in week 2. Week 3, you go to Green Bay and you blow a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter. Week 4, you lose to Tampa at home, which was disgraceful. Even though the Bucs are really good defensively, I don't care. You've had their number going back to when Brady was there, and all of a sudden you can't score points against Tampa Bay. Like, give me a break. No, that was disappointing there. Let's see. I can't think of your week 5 opponent. You had to have beaten somebody, though. And it had to be somebody trash, because you're not scoring no points for real. So it had to be somebody that wasn't very good that you were able to get the best of in week 5. Probably somebody in that AFC South. Let me see. And you haven't played Indy yet. And you played Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Houston. You played Houston the following week and lost. I don't remember who that was. Now I got to look it up. I was trying to play it by memory, but I can't think of who you played in week 5. It was the Patriots. That's who it was. Beat the brakes off the Patriots. And the only reason you had an explosive game there is because it's the Patriots. You know, Mac Jones throwing a pick 6, and then the defense fell the hell apart at the seams. But I thought this defense would be more dominant than it has been, and I thought the offense would be better. So tonight, the offense looked better in the second half. Let's see if they can bottle that up and maybe start to get into an offensive rhythm. Maybe they found something with that no huddle, right, with that hurry up. Defensively, I'm still concerned. You gave up too many rush yards to Trevor Lawrence tonight. He was the leading rusher in the game. When he dropped back, there wasn't a lot of pressure on him either. He had time tonight. Like a guy that was supposed to be a sitting duck, I was really shocked at how much time he had. They really didn't. Did he even get sacked tonight? I don't think he did. I don't think he got sacked at all tonight. I'm curious. He did not. And you know, I don't think he was even ever close. For a guy that was supposed to be with, dealing with a banged up knee, you would have thought that there would have been a little bit more pressure applied to him. I felt like he was comfortable all night. And when he didn't like what he saw, he took off and ran. And there was no resistance with him taking off and running there either. So just really disappointed in the Saints defensively tonight. And although you got to stop when it was 24-24 and you got the ball back to your offense and you gave them a shot, and it didn't help that the punter, we're going to talk about this in a second, because I think your special teams is killing you too. It didn't help that your special teams, punch the football and it essentially gifts them the football in the plus territory at the 45. But you don't have to then give up a touchdown. You can give them an opportunity to kick a field goal, because your punter pretty much put them in field goal range, but make them kick a field goal. You don't have to give up a catch and run touchdown. That said, even with all of that, even with the pick 6 that Derek Carr threw, even with the mistakes that they made on offense and the miscommunication and, the ineffectiveness on third downs and the inability to really get into any kind of rhythm for the first 3 quarters, kudos to the Saints for getting back into this ball game, having a chance. And even after that last touch, they could have folded the tent after giving up the touchdown. To get the football, race back down the field, get right to the, 5 or 6 yard line, and then have Carr have a wide open Foster Moreau back corner of the end zone and have a chance, says a lot. Now you got to convert, right? You can't drop that pass. But valiant effort by the Saints, but just a little too little, too late. Start this earlier when the Jags were making mistakes and giving you opportunities, and who knows how this thing turns out. But I'll say this. The Saints need to take a long, hard look over this 10-day period at their kicking situation. I'm not advocating for getting rid of a rookie kicker. I always feel like you have to give young kickers an opportunity to get comfortable in the NFL. But this Blake Groupie guy is he's skating on some thin ice, I believe. Had this thing come down to a field goal, I was not confident. Like, even the extra point, I think I would have gone for 2, just because I'm not sure if this clown's going to make it or not. Missed a big kick last week, and he missed another kick. And you heard how pissed off Dennis Allen. I don't know if you heard the post-halftime interview with Katie Hartung, but he was like, we got to do the little things. We got to execute, and we got to make field goals. We got to make kicks. Okay, Dennis, I hear you, man. But I feel him on that, And these aren't 54-yarders. These are 32-yard kicks this clown is missing. He better get his act together. He'll be looking for a job here shortly. And then this rugby-style kicker they got, this punter rather, what are we doing? Like, they busted this dude out like he's some sort of secret weapon, like he's kicking it 70 yards in the air or something. This man's barely kicking the ball 40, 45 yards. Barely. And it's on a line. It's on a frozen rope. They got to figure some shit out there, man. Get you a real punter. What happened to the good old days of Thomas Morstead punting for the Saints? Like, go get you a real punter, man. This rugby style shit, it ain't it. And it cost you tonight. It cost you. All right. (31-24) final score. Jags get the win. 5-2. Saints drop to 3-4. And it's gonna be a long 10 days in New Orleans. 2 losses in a row to AFC South opponents. If you're serious about winning the division, you have to take. I said this last year about the NFC. If you're serious about winning the division, you got to take advantage of the AFC South. That's just the way it goes. If you're going to lose a game against one of those teams, let it be Jacksonville. Let it be Jacksonville. But you've already lost to both Jacksonville and Houston in consecutive weeks. Easily could have lost to Tennessee as well. You're struggling with these AFC South teams. So I don't know if you're serious or not. That's a tough loss and a bitter pill to swallow at home. Big win for Jacksonville. All right, let's get to the comment section. See what you guys have to say. We start off with my guy, the Black Al B. It's been a while, feels like. Black Al Bundy, what's going on? Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, what it do, Lou? What it do, Lab fam? Yo, Lou, dear God, we're rebuilding. I tried to warn you before the season started. I didn't think you were going to have a good year, but I didn't think it would be the way that it's turned out like this, right? Where you're 2-4. You're going to lose to the 49ers. Like, they're pissed off. They're going to take this frustration out. You got no Justin Jefferson. This could get ugly on Monday night. But that said, if you're truly rebuilding, you would do everything. Now, I know Kirk has a no trade clause, and from what we've been told, he is not looking like he's going to, grant the Vikings permission and waive his no trade clause to move him. He sounds pretty resolute in his stance, wanting to stay in Minnesota. So we'll see. I mean, that's the chip that you have right now, because I don't know if he's going to be back next year or not. And I was a big advocate for you guys drafting the Tennessee kid, Hendon Hooker, and you didn't. And I don't really know what your plan is for quarterback if it's not Kirk Cousins. You don't have a guy on the roster, a young guy that you feel good about. So I really don't know what you guys are doing. But we saw the writing on the wall in the offseason. This is why I thought you were going to struggle this year. It was a mass exodus. got rid of all your veterans outside of Harrison Smith. And, you know, you really didn't do anything in the way of replacing those guys. But again, we know how this works when you get a new GM and you've had one. I think this is his second year now. This is what happens, you know, second or third year, whatever it is. Eventually, they're going to turn the roster over. And that's where you're at right now. And you got to take this on the chin, bro. It's going to be rough. It's going to be long. Pause. And when you're in October and you're already acknowledging that it's a rebuild, ouch. Cubo, my guy Q. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Duval. What up, Lou? What up, Q? Congrats on your boys out there getting the 5-2, man. Yeah, I could be building something out there. You know how Tennessee was running that division for a good little stretch there. It can be. I think they've passed the baton. I think you took it from them really last year, late in the season when you came back and beat them a couple of times. I think you took that baton from them, and you ready to go and put your stamp on this thing. And I mean, the best that the AFC's got to offer. I mean, you haven't played Miami, but you've already went toe-to-toe with Kansas City, and you've already beaten Buffalo. That's two of the best teams the AFC has to offer right now. So I'm not saying, I'm just saying your team has a chance to be really dangerous. Mike Jank, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, shout out to Aja Wilson and Treya Turner. See you next week, Lou. Is it Aja? You know, I don't watch WNBA. Shame on me. But I do know Las Vegas won the WNBA championship. I do know that. And I did see them dancing the Nuck If You Buck at the podium at the press conference, which I love. And I do know they beat the Liberty. So I do know a little something, but, you know, you're stretching the kid. You're stretching me. All right. You're stretching me real thin. All right. Hey, Mike, you know where to find me. Hey, it ain't gonna be next week. I'll be here on Sunday night after y'all take that L. And if y'all win, I'll be here and I'll be giving y'all credit for getting the dub. I think you're gonna lose on Sunday though. Again, here, and I'll talk about this on the podcast tomorrow. But it's all gonna boil down to one thing: can you get to Tua Tagovailoa or not and make him uncomfortable? I've seen him uncomfortable this year. He's the same dude that still will throw it up for grabs and throw it away. If you don't get to him and he's able to get the ball out of his hands, and we know he's usually getting rid of that bitch in 1.6 seconds, but if you can find a way to get to him, you'll probably win the game. If not, could be a long night for you. But I'll be here. You know where to find me. The Q-Bone, my guy Q, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, double up, thank you for doubling up. Who writes, 5-2 feels so good. I know it does. I'm jealous. I'm not gonna lie to you. 5-2, damn, that looks good. Etienne has 2 touchdowns in each of the last 3 games. I told you, I feel like this dude is sniffing the end zone every week. I feel like he's touching pay dirt 2 times. Feels like. The defense is leading the league in turnovers, and Josh Allen has been balling, man. He got so close so many times tonight. I really thought he was going to force a fumble down by the goal line on that last possession when Carr got hit in the nuts by, looked like Adam Gotsis got him. Adam Gotsis got him. Looked like he got him in his nuts. But I thought on that play, he was going to get him. And then there was another one where Olave, the ball was behind Olave, because Josh Allen hit him. I thought he was going to get to him that time. He came so close so many times tonight. He said, that being said, Moreau should have caught that pass. Duval! He should have caught it. And who knows what happens. If I'm Dennis Allen, if I'm DA, probably going for 2 there. I'm glad I don't have to find out, because I had Jacksonville and I would have been sick to my stomach, because it's nothing worse than getting your week started off with a loss. And I've only converted on the layups. All the hard games or all the ones that I overthought, I've blown the bunny. So getting off to a fast start is imperative. I was able to do that, and shout out to Foster Moreau for helping the kid do that. Anyway, I digress. See if y'all out there. If you are out there and you got something that you want to say, use that hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air. Y'all know how this works. So let's get to it. We got a little bit of time to blow. So Niners fan. Right. I think Etienne may be a top 5 running back in the league. He's dynamic. And I don't think he's there yet, but he's moving in that direction very rapidly. I can tell you that much. I loved him at Clemson. I loved him coming into the league. I thought the Jags got a steal when they got him, pairing him with Trevor Lawrence. And it was a shame he missed his rookie season due to a foot injury, but he's back now, and he's a problem. I was a little nervous. There was a play where a couple of Saints defenders fell on him, and I thought one of them might have fallen on his ankle or his knee, and he got up kind of slow, and he limped off. I was like, oh, shit, here we go. But he was able to come back in, finish the game. Now that he has 10 days off, even if he did do something to it, and like they said, 23 there's one game in a 23-day span for them. So you get 10 days off, you get one game against Pittsburgh, and then you got a bye week. So even if there's something wrong, if they so choose, they could say, hey, Travis, take this game off, get you this full 23 days of rest, and come back ready for the the back end of this season, right? So I love what he's doing right now, but I still think there's a number of guys that are probably still in front of him, but he's making a hard charge towards that top 5 range for sure. He's been excellent this season. Let's see, I think I got enough super here. Jeremiah Stafford, been a member for 15 months. What's up, Lou? Shout out to Anton Harrison, my ex-high school teammate, rookie tackle from Oklahoma, who a lot of us Commanders fans were salivating over the prospects of having a chance to select a guy like that. He's been playing well for Jacksonville, and that's what happens. They've invested on that offensive line, and Brandon Sheriff, Anton Harrison, your man from Alabama, I think he's still over there on the left side. When you invest the resources, a guy that is banged up doesn't get touched pretty much the entire night, who's supposed to be a sitting duck. Hassan Moore. Right. Carr has more pulled groins than playoff wins. Touche. Can somebody answer this for me? Me and my wife were watching the game last week against the Texans, and she's like, what is this whole emo thing Derek Carr has going on? Is he wearing eyeshadow? She's like, or is he wearing eyeliner? Why is his eyes so dark? I'm like, I don't think so. But I've asked myself that. He always looks like the Undertaker, right? He always looks like his eyes are super dark. He always looks demented. His hair is dark. He's got the receding hairline, but he's always looking like this. And, the eyes are always dark. Like, does he have on eyeshadow? I mean, eyeliner? Somebody let me know. His eyes can't be that dark permanently around his eyes. Anyway, I digress. Spence Collis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Louie, is Brown still a guy that can help the O? I have no idea who Brown is, but if you clarify it for me, and you don't have to super chat it, but that feels luckish. That's so vague. I don't know who you're talking about. So we're just gonna go back to the comment section. Let's see. Niners fan writes, what are your thoughts on Trayvon Walker's career up to this point? He's young still. When they took him, they knew he was extremely raw. I myself wasn't a fan of them choosing him over Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson was the better pass rusher. He was more polished. We've already seen what Aiden Hutchinson has done. But you know what? It was meant for him to go to Detroit. He's from Michigan. He went to Michigan. Like, it was tailor-made for him to go to Detroit. Like, he probably would have been mad if Jacksonville would have selected him. So, Trayvon Walker, I thought, was a bit of a reach. But we know that's what we know that's what Trent Baalke, the GM for the Jags, likes to do. He's really big on upside. He did the same thing with Aldon Smith when nobody really saw that coming, and we saw how it worked out for him. So he went to the well again. I don't really know if you have to ask a Jags fan like what he's doing against the run per se. I just know from a pass rushing standpoint, he hasn't been probably what they were hoping he would be. I think he's a solid defender, but you don't draft a guy number 1 overall to be solid, right? You draft him to be a game wrecker and a game changer. When you draft a guy number 1 overall, you want to look like Myles Garrett. He's not Myles Garrett. So I'd say he's been solid to this point, but I don't think they've necessarily gotten out of him what they were hoping for. But it doesn't mean he won't evolve into that. He's got some workable tools, but we already knew he was a bit raw. So anyway, I digress. Spence Collis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, double up, who writes, De'Ami Brown, Louie. I don't play games. Okay, I didn't know. I wasn't sure. You can't just be leaving out, like, Brown is a very common last name. So it seemed a little suspicious to me. Yeah, there's value in De'Ami Brown. Again, we can't even begin to talk about De'Ami Brown when Jahan Dotson's not getting the football. To hell with De'Ami Brown. I need to get number 1 to football. Let's get Uno. All right, let's get Han Solo to rock first, and then we can start having discussions about Dusky. Okay? But right now, it's all about Uno. Let's get him to rock first, and then we can start talking about Deuce getting involved. But, yeah, I mean, he should have had a touchdown against the Bears. Sam makes a better throw. It's a touchdown. He's got to dive, though. He had another deep ball opportunity against the Falcons early in the game. And, yeah, it was pass interference. The guy was grabbing his arm. But you got to fight through that, or you got to show the official, hey, I'm getting held here. You got to be extra. You can't make it look like it was good defense. He had a chance at a one-hand grab, though. Let's see. That might be the last comment. Oh, here goes one from Derek B. Al Michaels can't see the field anymore. It's as cringy as watching 100-year-old Dick Clark do Rockin' New Year's Eve. Yeah, man. He on the Christian Kirk touchdown, he's like, and he's out at the 1, and I'm like, Al, bro, he scored. What are you talking about, Al? He's like, and I'm waiting for Kirk Herbstreit to just jump in and say, I think he got in. Like, help him out. Like, he's struggling over there, Kirk. Kirk ain't throw his ass a life raft at all. He was just watching them drown and shit. I'm like, Kirk, step in there, bro. And I know in a booth, there's, this unwritten rule, like you don't step on somebody. Like if they make a mistake, you let them correct themselves. Generally, you don't correct them. But that was like his third infraction of the night. One, it was a Jamal Agnew pass that wasn't even close. That ball wasn't even close to Jamal Agnew. And he's like, and he catches it, but he's out of bounds. I'm like, Al, that ball went out of bounds by like 3 yards, bro. What are you talking about? Hey, but Al don't have his fastball no more, but I can tell you right now, his changeup still hitting. He's still painting the corners with the changeup. So I'll take Al Michaels over one of these bums that you might try to throw at me to take his place. I could tell you at the end of like Dick Stockton at the end, I was like, oh man, Dick is bad, bro. Like you had a hell of a run. It's over, man. Hey, give me your headset. It's over, Dick. You had a hell of a run though, bro. It's not over for Al. Kirk got to help him out in them situations. Like, don't leave him out there don't leave him out there to drown like that. You see the man struggling. Your eyes are better than his. You got to, if he does that, you got to, I think he got in, Al. I think he got in. Like, it's not hard, right? I think that one's out. I think that one's incomplete. There's ways to do it. But yeah, he had a rough one tonight. That was the first time I saw it that bad for Al. Let's see. Q-Bone, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Q writes, to answer Niners fan, Walker isn't who I wanted at number one. I wanted Aiden, but he is an important part of their run defense, which is what this Jags defense prided themselves on. And I figured he was stopping the run because he was a really good run defender at Georgia. And a lot of times when you take these guys at number one, you don't just take them because they can get to the quarterback. You take them because they're also like dominant run defenders. You don't take guys that can just rush the passer at number one overall. You got to be equally as dominant or have the potential to be as a pass rusher, but you already got to come with the ability to stop the run. So I'm not shocked that he's been a huge part of their run defense. But I know he hasn't been what they were hoping as a pass rusher, but it's still time for him to develop in that role. But like Q-Bone said, Aiden was the guy. And I'm pretty sure most Jaguars fans wanted him, but you know, what you going to do? And his first game of his career, he had a sack and an interception. So he came out of the gate swinging, you know, last year against Washington. I don't know if he's done a lot since then, but you know, now that you've asked, let's just go look up his stats and see. I'm going to guess he had 4.5 sacks last year. That's a good number for a rookie. You know, Trayvon Walker stats. He had 3.5 last year. Damn. I was close. Usually when you struggle in your rookie season, the number's usually 4.5, 3.5, 4.5. Usually 4.5 is what I give him. He's got 2.5 this year. So he'll better that. I would assume he'll better that 3.5 from last year. So we'll see. He might end up with 7 this year, and that's a good number for a second-year guy. And then we'll see if he takes that leap, you know, in his third season or whatever. Jeremiah Stafford, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Derek could have thrown a better fade ball to Michael Thomas and Olave. Yeah, there was one where he threw it to Michael Thomas where the DB turned around and knocked it away. That was a terrible ball. Like, if you're throwing a fade to Michael Thomas, it should be back shoulder. Let him body up a dude. That's a young boy and, Buster Brown. Let him body Buster Brown up. Throw that shit back shoulder. Instead, he tried to throw it up in. First of all, can somebody answer me why Michael Thomas is running any kind of dig 9 route? Like, he threw a go ball on a third down to Michael Thomas. I'm like, you do know that's Michael Thomas, right? Like, he ain't running by nobody. He can't even run by one of these old-ass officials. You know, every official in the NFL is like 67 years old. He can't even run past one of them. Why are we throwing a 9 ball to Michael Thomas for? Make it make sense. You got Rashid Shaheed, who, like they said, might be one of the fastest dudes in the NFL, and you throwing a go ball to Michael Thomas? Again, make it make sense. And then the fade at the end to Olave, that had no chance. That was not a good ball. That had no chance. It had a better chance of being picked off than it did of being caught by Olave. But still, give some credit to Buster Brown. That's some great. I've seen dudes in that. He was put in like 3 or 4 positions in the end zone, 1-on-1, and he couldn't have played it any better every single time. And I've seen dudes who are seasoned veterans who don't even turn around and locate the ball in that situation and get called for PI. And he turned around every single time and played the ball. Kudos to that young man. Thought he had a hell of a night. Let's see. Derek B. writes, Carr's body language makes me thankful for Sam's calm and cool demeanor. I told you, Carr's one of those dudes that makes sure everybody knows it's not his fault. I can't stand guys like that. I've played with guys like that. I know guys like that. That shit irks me. Like, I don't need you showing, like, I just like receivers. I don't need receivers showing quarterbacks up when they make a bad throw. They were open. They didn't get the ball. I don't need that shit. I don't need my quarterback going out of his way to make sure everybody knows you made a mistake. It wasn't me. You're like, I don't need you to have the Shaggy syndrome. It wasn't me. Like, don't come 7 yards up the field with this gesture. And, you know, like you said, his demeanor is just, it's out of pocket. It's unnecessary. But that's Derek Carr. He's one of those dudes that always wants to make sure you know that wasn't my fault. I ain't gonna tell you it wasn't my fault, but my expression is gonna tell you, in my body language is gonna tell you all you need to know about who effed up on that route. That's trash. Let's see. Jado says, did you see Sam say he was a Braves fan on Adam's show? LOL. No, I didn't see that, but I mean, there's a connection that I got with Sam, man. That's my guy. So I'm not shocked that he's a Braves fan. Great minds think alike. Larry Alderman writes, why can't Sam get rid of the ball like Tua? Because he's not Tua Tagovailoa. Tua has to get rid of the ball because he's fragile. He's not an extend the play type of guy. Tua's not really a great athlete, right? So he's got to get rid of the football. That's his superpower. Everybody's got different superpowers. You know, Sam's superpower is the ability to extend plays and his ability to stand in the pocket, be tough, and deliver the football in the face of pressure. Those are his superpowers. Tua's superpower is being extremely accurate and getting the ball out of his hands quickly. And again, when that doesn't work, Tua doesn't have any other recourse. Our guy does, but again, you take the good with the bad. You know, take the good with the bad. Rafael DeLuna writes, how do you think Tyrod Taylor will do against Washington's D? I think he's going to have a shot to play well. You know, I'd rather have seen Daniel Jones personally. I wanted Daniel Jones. I really don't. I watched Tyrod, and here's my only hope. No, I'm not going to say that. That's not cool. Tyrod is dangerous because he's a veteran. He's seen it all. He's done it all. And he's not going to be fazed by pressure. If the line's breaking down around him, he's not going to panic. He's going to dodge a guy. He's going to dip his shoulder, and he's going to either get back to the line of scrimmage or he's going to pick up 5 or 6 yards where Daniel Jones would have been sacked. He's going to get the ball out of his hands quickly. He's going to allow them to operate in a space that doesn't put them behind the chains. You know, he's going to make all the throws that he's supposed to, and maybe 1 or 2, there you go. Damn, that was a good-ass throw. So I'm not looking forward to it, if I'm being honest with you. I wanted my shot at Daniel Jones. Like everybody else got their shot at Daniel Jones, I wanted mine. And I think Tyrod's going to – I think he's got a chance to do some damage against our defense, personally. We'll see what happens. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Duncan writes, I'm here to comment you made about my comment last week. First, you don't need to tell me how well constructed my sentence was. I know how well my sentences are because I write them. I watch Sesame Street. Nah. Touche, man. I'm not I'm not even mad at you. I've had so many clunkers from you though that I was just caught off guard by the eloquent nature of that particular post from you. So fine, I won't give you compliments anymore. Okay. You don't have to tell me but one time. All right. Oh my God. Oh man. I love y'all. Abel Ambrosio writes, who is an X factor on the game between us and the Giants? A key matchup, Gates versus the D-line. I just think overall it's going to be the trenches in this game, both sides, because I really believe our front four should be able to get to Tyrod Taylor without blitzing. And here's the thing. I think they're going to go to a quick passing game to try to neutralize our D-line, but I'm looking at the two guys inside in particular. And I'm like, hey, this is one of them games where I need y'all to eat. Like, even if y'all ain't getting sacks, I need Tyrod to not have anywhere to step up when those edge rushers try to come around and just collapse. Like, I need this to be one of those games where the shit just collapses. If they can't get it done against this patchwork offensive line, we got issues. And I mean it. I'm usually not the guy that's hypercritical of the defensive line. I let everybody else talk about four first-round picks on the D-line, and they suck, and they can't do this. And I'm not that dude. This is one of those games where I'm going to be very, very critical of them if they can't get it done without blitzing. I would prefer Jack to not have to blitz in this game, personally. And then conversely, our offensive line hasn't played against anybody the last 2 weeks. So all of a sudden, I think some people have let their guard down. I'm not letting my guard down. I told y'all from the jump they weren't as bad as you thought, but I know they're not as good as some people are trying to make them out to be all of a sudden now. Like, all the blame is shifted to Sam. Sam's holding on to the ball too long. Yeah, he is. I'm not denying that. But this offensive line still isn't that great. And this is a defense in New York, it's specifically up front, that is capable of getting to the quarterback, and they're going to blitz, and we're going to find out how much improved this offensive line really is. I hope, for our sake, that they're much better. Because if Sam has time, he's going to carve them up. So I think it just boils down to the trenches, personally. Joe Rockhead says, you missed the good old days of Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, and Dan Bonehead Deardoff. Boy, those were my golden years. Monday Night Football. Remember when Monday Night Football started at 9 o'clock? What was that all about? And I get it. It was really for the West Coast, right? You wanted to bring that audience in, but 9 o'clock? Sheesh. A lot of people don't remember that. Like, I know that predates a lot of your football watching experience, but Monday Night Football used to start at 9 o'clock on the East Coast. 9 o'clock. That's when Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, and Dan Deardoff were calling the games. What a time to be alive. Kevin writes, hey, Lou, completely off topic, but if my pack lose to the Broncos, boy, I'm going to be me too. I picked the Packers. Me too. You preach it to the choir. If you can't beat the Denver Broncos, I swear to you, the Broncos are one of the worst teams in football. And they know it, which is why they're selling off parts and getting rid of guys left and right. They know it. They know what they are. And Peyton's going to try to turn this thing around by getting rid of guys that he didn't choose. He didn't handpick, right? If you can't go in there and find a way to win off of a bye week, and I get it, they were on a bye week as well, don't care. You can't go in there and find a way to beat them. Says a lot about who you guys are right now. So that's all I'm going to say. Legendary One writes, All I'm gonna say is go back and watch that tight end drop and play and tell me that that's not on Carr. That's all I'm gonna say. Could that ball have been better? Sure, it could have been. He's got to catch that, man. We're not gonna sit here and try to pin that on Derek Carr. We can't. I can't allow that. If you want some Derek Carr slander, there's plenty of opportunities in this particular game and things that he's done this season that you can poke holes at. That's not one of them, man. He's got to catch that football, bro. He's got to catch that football. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. Junio Rudy writes, the NFC South is where offense dies. It seems like it. It seems like it's an offensive struggle down there, man, down south. Atlanta's offense isn't all that great. Carolina's offense stinks right now. Obviously, the Saints are struggling on offense. And Tampa Bay is offensively challenged. They're going to win. I told you, their formula, don't turn it over. Get 1 or 2 turnovers of their own. Score when opportunities present themselves. Make your field goals, play fundamentally sound ball. Like, they have to have everything go right in order for them to win. Anything goes wrong, anything goes off script, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. Joe Rockhead writes, can Sam have a Russell Wilson-like career, as in many sacks but still prolific? He said Russell Wilson was one of his favorite players. Drew Brees was really his guy. But, Russell Wilson, I think he modeled himself after a lot of the smaller guys, right? The shorter guys in stature, which makes a ton of sense. You want to model your game after guys that look like you. If you're 6 feet, 6'1", you don't want to be looking at a 6'5" quarterback and saying, that's what I want to do. The thing that makes Steph Curry such an impressionable basketball player, I think he's had arguably the greatest impact we've ever seen in the NBA's history, is because there's a bunch of dudes that are walking around that look like Steph Curry. Like, Steph Curry's 6'3", 190 pounds, maybe he's 200 pounds, maybe. Like, every dude walking around is balling at a D2 school or, low D1 is saying, I can do that shit. You ain't 6'6", and you can't jump like Michael Jordan, right? You ain't 6'8", and you ain't built like a damn middle linebacker, so you can't be LeBron James. You're not 6'11" with long-ass limbs and a strong-ass wiry frame, so you can't be, well, he's built that frame out now, and he's a freak, but you can't be, Giannis Antetokounmpo. You're not 6'10", 6'11", with a silky smooth jumper, so you can't be KD, but you can be 6'3" and shoot it from 33 feet away from the basket. So I think Russell Wilson is a guy that Sam looked at and said, I can do that. Now, again, comes with a bit of a cost, right? But we'll see. Watt Holmes writes, my superpower is being depressed and deprived all the time. Real life on the field crap is crazy. Everybody's got their own superpower. I don't know if that's much of a superpower, but everyone's got one. You just got to figure out what yours is. Chauncey Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Triple OG, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, writes, we need 2 dogs at the O-line tackle positions. You're not wrong. I've already advocated for them drafting 2 tackles next year. Now, again, their counter to that would be, hey, we drafted Braden Daniels last year and we think he could develop into something. Okay, that's fine. I still think you need to draft 2 offensive linemen. One, first of all, first round tackle. That's not a debate. I don't give a shit how badly you like this tight end or that linebacker or that guy. I don't care. Offensive tackle next year in the first round. That's where I'm at with mine. And I would double back and get another one in the 3rd or 4th round next year too, just for safekeeping. If we end up with 9 or 10 picks next year, 3 offensive linemen, bare minimum. A linebacker, 2 edge rushers, running back, speedster, kick returner, all of that good stuff. That's kind of where my head is right now, but we'll see what they decide to do. LT, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, doesn't Hurts make you think of prime Russ so much more? Not exactly. Not exactly. I don't see Russ in Hurt. First of all, Hurts is a bigger dude, just stature wise. He's like, I know Russ is a compact guy. He's got a compact frame, and he's got sort of a thicker frame. Pause. But and so does Hurts. But Hurts is like a running back there. Like, that's not what Russ ever was. Two, Russ has got a much stronger arm than Jalen Hurts ever has and ever will. Russ can throw the deep ball. Hurts, not his specialty necessarily. All right. That said, the similarities with, their rise, it's somewhat similar. I mean, Russ came in immediately and took the Seahawks to the playoffs year one. That's not what Hurts did, but immediately in his first year as a starter, he took the Eagles to the playoffs. And then year 3 of his career, year 2 of him being a starter, he takes it to the Super Bowl, which is what Russ did. So if you're comparing it from that perspective, absolutely. But if you're talking about their game and their style of play, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Junio Rudy, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, my Jets are on a bye, and I'm looking at the schedule. Is 6-3 a possibility before going to Buffalo? Much love. Well, let's take a look at the Jets' schedule. I think it is. I mean, I've already seen it multiple times, and I know that there's some winnable games. Again, I think you play. I'm pretty sure you play the AFC West this year because you've already played Kansas City and Denver. So the Raiders are very beatable. So are the Chargers, even though that'll be a bit of a more difficult task. Still a very winnable game, however. And let's just get into it and see who you guys have on the schedule. Up next, you got the Giants after the bye, the Chargers. That's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Raiders, and then you get the Bills. Yeah, you can win all 3 of those games. Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. You can win all 3 of those games. I mean, looking at your schedule, it's a very doable schedule, man. It really is. You can definitely win all 3 of those games. I don't think you will. All right. I think the Chargers are going to get you. But you bring that same caliber of defense you've been bringing to start this season off, and if the Chargers are tripping like they were on Monday night, you'll get them. You'll definitely get them. But I think you should be able to beat the Giants. You should be able to beat the Raiders. And then there's the Chargers. So, and I think that Chargers game is a Monday night one too. That should be interesting, honestly. Chauncey Davis, my guy, OG, triple OG. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, insulating my garage and watching Louie T. Look at you, man. Multitasking. Better than me. I am a one-task man. I cannot do 2 things at once. I try. I am horrible. Now, I did watch a show that made me feel a lot better about this. I watched a brains show on like the Discovery Channel, and they said the human brain or the human body isn't meant to multitask. So people that can do that, that's actually a skill, because I'm terrible. If I'm on the phone and I'm driving, I'm liable to drive past my exit. I do not do 2 things well at once. So the fact that you're able to insulate your garage and watch at the same time and be listening and hear what's going on, kudos to you. Kudos to you. Duncan Wright, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, we got this. Eagles 21-14. You see who we just signed? Julio Jones is who you just signed. But again, his name is Quintorris Lopez now. He's no longer Julio Jones anymore. So good luck with that, though. You know, you guys signed Bradley Roby. Good luck with all of those oldie but goodies, man. Good luck with all of those dudes. Hope they work out for you. I'm not impressed. I'll just tell you that. I'm not impressed. Joe Rockhead writes, thank you for all the props and quotes last week. May the false death be short and the false resurrection be real. Hashtag HTTC. Hashtag NHO. I love that. I love that. And I'm going to continue to give you props every time I use it because it's not mine. It's yours. And it is the perfect way to describe. I call it revering. It's the perfect way to describe it. So may the false death be over with. You know, that 3-game losing streak was the false death, right? May it be swift. It's over with. Now, can we get to the false resurrection? And I'm hoping that the false resurrection turns into a real one, right? Or at least it gives us this life that we didn't know existed, okay? Because you can't actually resurrect if you're not actually dead. And we're actually not dead because, like you said, it's a fake death. So hopefully the fake resurrection leads to this baptism of sorts where we're suddenly a new team and we're really alive for the first time. That's the hope. One can only hope. Jeremiah Stafford writes, take the over on Jahan receptions for Sunday. I don't know what the number is, but if it's not north of 5, if it's not 4 or more, take the over. He's getting at least 6 targets. And he'll catch at least 4 of them. And he may get 2 more touches in terms of runs and, you know, something quick that may not actually be, you know, termed as a, you know, reception. So something behind the line of scrimmage or a jet sweep. He's touching it 6 times, though. He's touching it 6 times. Abel Ambrosio writes, what's going on with Phil Mathis? Not a damn thing. I thought the tweet that he had on Tuesday was an indication that Wednesday he was going to practice and they were going to open up the window. He just had faked the shit out of me. That's all. He just gave me a mean pump fake and I jumped and he just blew right back past me and he went right to the cup. That's it. He got me. I ain't afraid to admit it. I ain't checking for him no more. When he's back, he's back. I'm over him. I'm over him. Rocky D writes, I consider tonight a win for Washington. I live for AFC versus NFC games and hope AFC wins just because it helps Washington's playoff chances. You're not wrong. I'm not thinking in that context this early in the season because I've always said this. I don't worry about what nobody else is doing. We got to take care of our own business. I'm not in the business of rooting for other teams to lose until you get to week 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, right? I'm not rooting for somebody to lose in week, because if you can't do your part in weeks 7, 8, 9, and 10, then weeks 12, 13, 14, 15 not going to matter anyway. So you're not wrong in that assessment. You're absolutely spot on. That benefits us, them losing this game. But I've always told y'all this. I'm going to continue to tell you guys this because I live by this. You want something done right, you got to do it yourself. This is what you have to do if you want to win and make it to the playoffs. Take care of what you have to take care of, and the rest will take care of itself. You do what you're supposed to do. Don't worry about New Orleans, Atlanta. Don't worry about Seattle. Don't worry about all these other teams, Tampa Bay, none of them. Don't worry about any of these other teams. The Rams, we play them. We play Seattle. We play the Rams, right? We play Atlanta. Or we've played them. Like, you want it done? Do it yourself. Take care of your business, and it'll all take care of itself at the end of the season. But you're not wrong for rooting against New Orleans. All right. So we'll take this last comment right here and we'll get out of here. We've hit our mark. Jamal Hamlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, "Hey, Lou, hope everything is good." Likewise, Jamal. Says, "I know we need to get Dotson involved, but I think this is Curtis Samuel's game. I don't give a shit whose game it is. I just want to win. Personally, you know how I am. I'll complain about targets after the fact. And usually in a mob, I'm complaining about it during the game because you see it happening as it's happening. But I just want to win. All right. I just want to win. I care about that most. I'll complain and bitch and moan and cry about targets after the fact. But I just want to win. Okay. If we're scoring 38 points and Jahan Dotson doesn't get a single target, I'll be like, yo, what's up with that? But I'm not going to be hypercritical of that. The reason I get hypercritical is because you have a second half where you can barely move the football and you're going damn near 3 and out every time and keep putting it, and you're not getting your best players involved. I have an issue with that. If we're scoring points and the ball's being spread around and Jahan's just not getting a ton of targets, okay, I get that. It's when you're struggling and you're still not getting your best players involved. Now I have an issue because we have all this talent, you're not utilizing it, and we're struggling. Make it make sense. If it's been Curtis Samuel all season long, if we're being honest. He's the one that stepped up. It may be a Curtis Samuel game. I just know what history tells me. And if history repeats itself, what history has told me is that when the media gets on Ron about a player not getting touches, Ron acknowledges that that player is not getting enough opportunities. Ron then makes sure that that player then is involved in the offense the following week. Now, that was with Scott Turner. Okay. We have seen a slight example of that this year with Terry, but honestly, we'll see. I expect Jahan to touch it early and often. I'll be shocked if he doesn't touch it at least 2 times on the opening possession, or at least be targeted. I think they're going to be simple targets too. 5-yard stop, bubble screen, something to that effect, a slant, something like that. But that's all I'm asking for. Is get him involved early. Get him involved early. Anyway, we'll see. You could be right. I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Thursday Night Football overtime. Jags pull out the very close victory. It actually turned out to be a really good game. 31-24. Trevor Lawrence was really good. On a bum knee, he goes out, throws for over 200 yards, rushes for another, 60 yards or so, leads the team in rushing, made every throw that needed to be made in the game, scrambled and made some big plays with his legs. The defense forced a big turnover, a pick six. They ran out of gas, I felt like, late, but they, were able to get the stop courtesy of a huge Foster Moreau drop in the back corner of the end zone on a 3rd and goal from about the 6-yard line. Saints had every opportunity to win this game, and much like we've seen from them this season, they failed to do so. They dropped to 3-4 with the loss. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this episode of Overtime. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys on Sunday. That's a big one. Eagles. That I venture to say that is the best game we've gotten this season from a record standpoint. Obviously, Dallas, San Francisco was massive, felt big. This one, I think, is going to feel just as big. I think that the Niners-Cowboys rivalry aspect added a bit to that, the hype and buildup of that game and how it felt. I don't think you'll get that same feel with this game because there is no history with the Eagles and the Dolphins, but 5-1 against 5-1, power against power, strength against strength. This should be a good one. So I can't wait for that one on Sunday night. Chauncey Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Right. OG Triple OG writes, protecting Sam, #1 priority. Facts. Truer words were never spoken. You know what you got now. And I told y'all before the season started, Sam is going to prove that he is the guy. Now the goal is to prove to protect him, because I don't think he's that. I've gotten in trouble saying this before, so I'm just gonna shut up and get out of here. You guys have a great night. God bless. Take care.